Access Point to Washington, I'm Aisha Tanzim. President Barack Obama and his opponent Mitt Romney may have exchanged barbs during a debate on foreign policy Monday night, but in the end, their worldview sounded more alike than not. Let's listen.
And when I'm president, we'll make sure we bring our troops out by the end of 2014.
What I think the American people recognize is after a decade of war, it's time to do some nation building here at home.
We're going to have to do more than just going after leaders and killing bad guys.
Well, keep in mind, our strategy wasn't just going after bin Laden. We've created partnerships throughout the region to deal with extremism.
In a post-mortem of that debate tonight, we'll discuss what America's role in South Asia looks like post-November 6th. Joining me in our Washington studios is Lisa Curtis, a South Asia expert at the Heritage Foundation. And in our New York studios, we have Michael Cohen, author and commentator on American politics and U.S. foreign policy. And with us on the phone from Islamabad is Tariq Fatmi, Pakistan's former ambassador to the U.S. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. And let me start in New York. Michael, you, for your book, have actually read a lot of presidential speeches. It sounded to me like the same person was sending the memo to both sides on the AFPAC policy. Did you catch any difference in their policy statements?
Not really, no. I mean, both Governor Romney and President Obama have adopted a relatively similar position on Afghanistan, as they have, frankly, on a lot of different issues. If you look across the Middle East, from their view on the Arab Spring, their view on Syria, Israel and Iran, there's not a lot of daylight between the two candidates on Middle East issues and issues related to South Asia. I think, in a sense, what you have here happening is that Mitt Romney would like to find a way to criticize President Obama on his Afghanistan policy. There are places to criticize him, but unfortunately, I think for Romney, it's very hard to do so because Obama's adopted a very popular position, which is that he's getting out of Afghanistan. So I think for Romney, the safe play is just to go along with that policy.
Okay, we'll come back to what the criticism, if any, should be, but Our readers on Facebook seem to agree that there was no difference, because here are two comments that we received. Mohammed Ibrahim said, I think not much will change as the U.S. foreign policy is institutionalized, not personalized. Mr. Arshad Ali seems to agree with him. No foreign policy change in Pakistan towards Pakistan expected. But even though we didn't see any difference, Lisa, we at least know what Governor Romney thinks about the relationship with Pakistan, which until now we hadn't heard. So let's listen to what he said about Pakistan.
This is a nation which, if it falls apart, if it becomes a failed state, there are nuclear weapons there. And you've got terrorists there who could grab their hands onto those nuclear weapons. This is an important part of the world for us. Pakistan is technically an ally. And they're not acting very much like an ally right now, but we have some work to do.
Ambassador Fatmi, in Islamabad, you heard that. From Pakistan's perspective, is it good news that Governor Romney is promising to stay vested in Pakistan, or is it bad news that he's talking of Pakistan as a problem?
It's an interesting question, because many Pakistanis were rather pleased to hear at least some reference to Pakistan being made in the foreign policy debate. But as you have rightly pointed out, the reference has all been negative. All the concerns have been highlighted, whether it is the nuclear, whether it is terrorism, whether it's the failed state, and all of that. So I think Governor Romney, if he were to enter the White House, I do not see a fundamental change in the policy, because the drones will continue coming in, and actions when needed would take place. And therefore, I see it as a basic challenge for both the United States and Pakistan, because if both candidates are determined to bring about the exit in 2014, how does that exit take place? What role does Pakistan play in that particular development? Will Pakistan be perceived as helping? Will Pakistan be perceived as retarding? So I think we have major challenges and problems ahead of us, and there would be no reason for any Pakistani to feel that Governor Romney in the White House would mean any improvement in real terms as far as U.S.-Pakistan relations are concerned, as long as the core differences between the two sides, and we can talk about that later, are not resolved.
And you did mention the drone. The drone policy seems to be very similar, Governor Romney's drone policy, as we see the current administration's drone policy. Let's actually listen to what Governor Romney says about drones.
It's a threat to us and our friends around the world.
Okay, well, for technical reasons, we probably didn't get to that sound, but we'll come back to it. But here's a question. We all seem to agree here, including our Facebook guests, that the policy is carbon copy of one another. So I'll start with you, Ambassador Curtis, and say, does America right now have like the perfect policy for Pakistan, or should there be criticism from the other side?
Well, I think it's true. It's striking how similar Romney and Obama's policies are on both Afghanistan and Pakistan. The fact that Governor Romney supported the 2014 pullout, the fact that he did not criticize President Obama, again, on the timelines for withdrawal, which he has done in the past. The fact that he did point out rightly that the Obama administration failed to reach a status of forces agreement with Iraq. And then what he could have done is he could have pointed out how disastrous that would be if such an agreement was not established with Afghanistan, and pointed out the importance of long-term engagement in Afghanistan, even as combat forces are withdrawing, that the U.S. will still have to be engaged militarily to some degree in Afghanistan. I think that's widely accepted in the U.S. So the fact that he did not criticize Obama on that failure to reach a SOFA, a status of forces agreement with Iraq, and then relate that to Afghanistan, I think was a missed opportunity in some ways. But on Pakistan, I tend to disagree slightly with Ambassador Fatemi in that I think Governor Romney came out very positive on Pakistan. The fact that he focused on how important it was to not allow the relationship to rupture. He did not castigate Pakistan for the sanctuaries, the Haqqani Network Sanctuary, the Taliban Sanctuary that are still in Pakistan. Now, he did reference those in a very subtle way, but really, I think he was really very positive, and I think his remarks demonstrated an understanding of the complexity of the relationship with Pakistan that probably many Americans themselves don't understand. So I think in that way he came across statesmanlike.
Do you see any difference, though, from what the current administration is doing to what he might do?
Well, one slight difference was he clearly indicated his support for conditioning aid to Pakistan. And I think the administration has tried to fight that. We've seen the Congress has very much wanted to put more conditions on aid. The administration has fought those conditions to the point where recently Secretary of State Hillary Clinton decertified Pakistan for receiving military aid, but waived that decertification on national security grounds. So, whereas you could see that as one more step toward conditioning aid, still, I think the Obama administration has been reluctant to go down that path, whereas Romney clearly indicated his administration would do so.
Okay. Now, one thing I found very interesting was President Barack Obama's comment about going after bin Laden in Pakistan. We want to hear, in his own words, what he said about going after bin Laden in Pakistan. Okay, it seems like we're having some technical difficulty. We can't get to that soundbite, but I have it on paper. And he said, if we had asked Pakistan for permission, we would not have gotten him. Ambassador Fatemi, what does he mean by that?
Well, this has been said in the past as well by him and by other people in the administration, including very senior White House officials. This basically means that the president continues to believe that there is not that level of trust between the two countries that would have permitted the safe execution of such a sensitive operation. And therefore, it is once again highlighting the fact that there are major differences between the two countries.
Okay, Michael, I want to ask you, is this like a clear indication of I was hearing that comment and I'm like, is he saying if we told Pakistan they would have tipped bin Laden? Is he saying Pakistan would not have allowed us to go in and would have wanted to do it themselves? Is he saying that Pakistan would have messed it up some other way? What was he trying to say?
I mean, I think it's pretty obvious what he was saying, which is that he doesn't trust the Pakistanis, and he thinks that if he told them about it, they would have somehow word would have gotten to bin Laden and he would have escaped. I think that speaks to the level of mistrust that exists between the U.S. and Pakistan right now. And I think that from that perspective, there's not a lot of disagreement by either Romney or Obama on that point, to be honest. And look, the issue to me, and I find sort of fascinating a little bit, is that the real question that needs to be asked is what happened after 2014, right? That's the real issue as far as U.S. policy in the region. I mean, first of all, neither candidate is being honest about the fact that after 2014, there will still be U.S. troops in Afghanistan. Maybe not combat troops, but almost certainly special forces troops and JSOC troops and troops and units that are probably engaging in some kind of use of military force. That's the first thing. The second thing is that what's the prospects for political resolution and political reconciliation? And neither candidate was asked about that question, and both candidates need to talk about that because that is the real issue. How much will the U.S. Move forward on potential political reconciliation with the Taliban, or will they try to maintain the status quo after 2014? My guess is that President Obama is much more likely to move forward with political process and political reconciliation than Governor Romney. But that's a question that should be asked and wasn't answered. In a lot of ways, the debate, as it focused on South Asia, sort of really ignored the key issues and ended up being just sort of a regurgitation of talking points by both candidates.
Okay, now another issue that wasn't mentioned in the debate was India. If America is planning to leave by 2014, even if they leave a couple of thousand troops behind, India is going to be a major player in the region, and I was surprised by the absence. So tell me, Lisa, how will America's relationship change or not change with India, and how will that impact Pakistan?
Well, I think if you read the candidates' platforms on the issue of India, they're very similar. President Obama and Governor Romney both talk about the importance of a strategic partnership with India. And how important that is moving forward. But the question would be, how do they see India's role in Afghanistan? And there you might see shades of difference if you were to get in a longer conversation. I think there is some skepticism in the Obama administration, within parts of the Obama administration, about India's role. But then other parts of the administration, I think, are becoming more welcoming of India's role. They're seeing that India, by providing assistance, humanitarian assistance, helping to support democracy, actually is playing a helpful role to U.S. goals in the region. And I think that's been an evolving position. But one thing I wanted to point out, because I think Michael's absolutely right on the fact that they didn't talk about the real issues post-2014 Afghanistan. But I think if you look at Congressman Ryan and what he said in the vice presidential debate, he was much more forceful on the U.S. should not lose its gains in Afghanistan, whereas Governor Romney chose to focus on being quite categorical that U.S. combat troops will leave by the end of 2014. So I think we saw a bit of a difference there.
He almost said, come hell or high water, we are leaving. we're out of there. Let me just bring Ambassador Fatmi into the mix. And Ambassador Fatmi, first of all, tell me, do you think from a Pakistani perspective that the Republican administration will understand more what Pakistan's concerns are in Afghanistan vis-a-vis India? And, or do you think the Obama administration was more understanding?
Well, there are sections of people in Pakistan that continue to believe in this old myth that the Republican presidents are somewhat more understanding or sympathetic towards Pakistan and its objective. I think that phase is over now. I think Michael stated, or Lisa, I forget, that as far as India is concerned, there is virtual unanimity. Both agree that there is a need to further enhance the strategic partnership. And I think, again, both administrations will see relations in Pakistan at least for the next few years after 2014 through the prism of Afghanistan. Afghanistan has dominated Pakistan-U.S. ties, and I think they'll continue to influence those. because I think the others have stated, and I wish to add to that, that what happens in Afghanistan 2014 is going to have a huge impact on the course of relations between Pakistan and the United States. And whether Pakistan likes it or not, there will be a tendency on the part of the American administration, whoever is in the White House, to hold Pakistan responsible or at least to share the blame for some of the inevitable setbacks and failures that are likely to take place leading up to 2014 and especially after 2014.
So let me start from here, and then Michael, I'll come to you, and then Ambassador Fatmi. We'll talk about what they didn't talk about in the debate, which is, first of all, what is your criticism of Obama administration's policy on Afghanistan or Pakistan? You said, Governor Romney didn't do it, but we're not running for president, we can. So why don't you start?
Well, I think the Obama administration has made many mistakes on Afghanistan. The first being to announce the beginning of U.S. troop withdrawals in July 2011, which President Obama announced way back in December 2009, 3 years ago, before the surge of U.S. forces, the 30,000 additional forces, had even begun. And what that did is, I think it emboldened the Taliban, and it made our allies, our Afghan allies, more skeptical of the U.S. as a reliable partner. So I just don't think that's a way to fight a war, announcing these timelines for withdrawal. So that was the first mistake. The second mistake, I think, has been in the handling of negotiations with the Taliban. Rather than using this option of negotiations to try to mold the Taliban's behavior, change the Taliban's behavior, break the Taliban from al-Qaeda, what the administration seems to be doing is trying to quickly strike this deal with the Taliban. For instance, they almost released 5 top Taliban leaders, according to credible media reports, but really had not negotiated anything in exchange. That was supposed to be a confidence-building measure. I think that would have been disastrous. I think before we're going to release any more Taliban prisoners, you have to get some kind of guarantee that the Taliban will participate in a normal political process, they will respect human rights, they will break from al-Qaeda. We have to have some way to verify that. So I think they have fumbled the negotiations. And lastly, I just want to say one more thing. I think the biggest mistake the Obama administration has made is President Obama has not explained to the American people why it is critical that the Taliban not regain influence and we not allow that to happen so that al-Qaeda can reestablish its base there. He has not done a good job of explaining to the American public why we are still there.
So, Michael, first of all, tell me if you want to add something to what Lisa said, but also one thing I want to ask in addition to that, which is Governor Romney in the beginning, when he was running in the primaries, kept saying, I would not have announced a timeline, that's a bad idea, and now all of a sudden he seems to agree with it. So is it because of domestic politics, or do you think that his actually policy position has changed?
No, I think it's all politics. The war's unpopular, and there's no reason to talk about keeping troops in Afghanistan any longer than the president has said. I want to go back to what Lisa said, though, because I think she's absolutely right that the administration's policy in Afghanistan has been pretty bad. But for none of the reasons that she said, I actually disagree with her pretty fundamentally. That the problem was not announcing a timeline to withdraw troops. The problem was surging troops in the first place. The policy that was announced December 2009 to send troops to Afghanistan has not worked. Obama was right to pull the plug on it, but he was wrong to ever do it in the first place. It has not been successful. It has not done enough to blunt the Taliban's momentum, and it certainly we haven't done enough to build up the Afghan government. The second thing about negotiation, I disagree also in that we should be doing much more than we have been doing to push forward with negotiations with the Taliban. I'm very supportive of these confidence-building measures because, frankly, we have very little leverage in negotiation. We are leaving. They know we're leaving, and we're leaving not just because President Obama announced it, but because there's no support in this country for continued escalation and continued long-term counterinsurgency in Afghanistan. The problem, as I see it, from day one, is the administration has basically ignored Pakistan's, I think, somewhat legitimate interest in Afghanistan. The policy has been, let's pursue a military solution and defeat the Taliban. This policy obviously runs counter to Pakistani interests. Pakistanis don't want this. And so it's created the situation of tension between the two countries and has led to what is basically now a proxy war between the U.S. and Pakistan. So I think, the best way to move forward with this is for the U.S. to sort of recognize the Pakistan has legitimate interests in Afghanistan. Those interests are going to have to be appreciated more than they have been. And the U.S. is going to have to find a way to be more serious about political reconciliation. If you go back to 2009, the administration policy has basically been a military-only approach to Afghanistan, and that has not worked.
Okay.
It is long overdue to approach this issue from more of a political standpoint.
Okay, let's bring Ambassador Fatmi in it. You've heard both of them. Do you agree with either one, or which one? And what do you want to add?
Well, you wouldn't be surprised if I was to say that I am more in sync with what Michael has stated. I think the administration has made mistakes, but there are reasons if one has to believe what people like Woodward have stated, that President Obama was virtually buffeted around by various groups, including the CIA and the DOD and the rest of the people. And in his desperation, in his desperation not to get a consensus view from these actors, he finally, I suppose, went for a compromise, announced a deadline for departure, and also agreed to a search, and thereby tried to please, and in the process, he displeased all sides. Now, as regards negotiations, Lisa is really very well informed on this part of the world, but I have to disagree. I think the fact that the administration went back on its promises, has not pursued a dialogue in a serious manner, or not even honored some of the commitments that they made by stating that, there is opposition to it in Congress, or that it was not a written agreement or any such thing, has really upset a large number of Taliban. And of course, though I do not talk to the Taliban, I talk to people who are friends of Taliban, and they say that if this is the way the United States wishes to talk to us, then obviously we are not interested. And the deadline having been given, the Taliban have to do nothing but sit and outwait them. So therefore, the negotiations have not been pursued with the sincerity and seriousness that they deserve. And secondly, I think Michael is very right. Pakistan, for reasons that are well known and don't need any repetition, obviously has an interest in a stable and orderly Afghanistan, and therefore some kind of an understanding for Pakistan's concerns regarding a future political dispensation in Afghanistan is absolutely essential. And I also want to add that the earlier claims that Pakistan was thinking in terms of Afghanistan being a strategic depth and all that has been abandoned. No sane person in Pakistan is now attached to any such claims. All Pakistan wants that Kabul should not have a government that is hostile to Pakistan, or that Kabul should not permit other powers in the region and outside to engage in policies that are perceived as inimical and harmful to Pakistan.
Okay, Lisa, I know.
We all agree that the U.S. and Pakistan have divergent goals in Afghanistan. That does not mean that the U.S. should simply cede its interest in Afghanistan to Pakistan's. We have an event that happened 11 years ago, the 9/11 attacks, 3,000 U.S. citizens killed on American soil, first time it's ever happened. The U.S. cannot simply just allow Pakistan to assert its interest in Afghanistan. That did not work. The biggest mistake the U.S. made in 1989 was turning its back on Afghanistan, turning its back on the region. But we saw what happened when it did that, and we simply cannot afford to do that again. Yes, Pakistan has interest in Afghanistan, but so does the U.S. And the trick is to find how the two can come together to address both sides' mutual need. The U.S. need to not allow al-Qaeda to establish a safe haven there again. Pakistan's need to not have a hostile neighbor. And the problem has been that we have not seen Pakistan either take care of the terrorist sanctuaries or use its influence to bring these groups to compromise. And perhaps Pakistan does not have the power to bring these groups to compromise. But if that's the case, then the U.S. needs to rely, or the Pakistanis need to rely on the U.S. to help bring these groups to compromise, because that's the only way we're going to move forward. The U.S. simply can't allow the situation to go back to what it was in the 1990s. And believe me, a lot of Afghans fear when 2014 comes that the Taliban will be able to reestablish its influence and will have all the gains that have been made over the last decade lost.
Michael?
Let me make one little point here. I completely agree with Lisa that the issue for the U.S. is about 9/11. It's about less than 9/11 and more al-Qaeda. And and the continued existence of terrorist safe havens for Al Qaeda in Pakistan. So, with that in mind, the problem is in Pakistan, not in Afghanistan. So it's critical for the U.S. to have as good a relationship as possible with Pakistan to pursue a counterterrorism agenda. The foolishness of the policy that we've moved forward with is that we are pursuing an approach in Afghanistan that antagonizes Pakistan, that makes it less likely Pakistan will cooperate with the U.S. on issues that are of much greater importance to the U.S. than the long-term future of Afghanistan.
Okay.
So, to my mind, the issue really has to be, if we want to focus on Al Qaeda and terrorism, we're taking the absolute wrong approach to doing so.
Ambassador Fatmi, what Lisa Curtis says is U.S. cannot cede its own interest to Pakistan's interest. Where is that point where you bring the interests together, maybe not together, but balance them?
No, well, she's right. America certainly and definitely has interest. But there are interests and there are interests. There is a qualitative difference in the interest the United States has in Afghanistan and the kind of interest. For us, it is virtually existentialist. We just cannot permit a situation where we have difficulties on both our eastern and western frontiers. And given the long and tortured history of our relations with Afghanistan, going right down to the earliest days of Pakistan's existence, Pakistan's concerns have to be addressed. And Lisa is right, the diplomatic ingenuity should be able to bridge these differences, provided there is a recognition in Washington that Pakistan has interest. And let me add that in the last few months, one does sense, recently Ambassador Grossman was here and other people have been coming here, and one sees a greater recognition that Pakistan does have an interest and those interests have to be seen, and that Pakistan also can play a positive role in bringing the Taliban about. It doesn't mean that Pakistan controls the Taliban. It doesn't mean that it can hand them over on a silver platter.
Here's my
but
question, Ambassador. If Pakistan does have a positive role to bring them to the table, why hasn't it done it so far?
Why? Because there is no incentive to do so. Is there any reason why Pakistan should play that kind of role without some kind of an understanding with the United States as to what exactly would Pakistan's role be in the establishment of that political dispensation? And also, whether the others may like to mention it or not, but the growing Indian presence in Afghanistan is also a matter of concern to Pakistan. It's not that we are worried about Indian investment or Indian, loans or other interests in academic field. But definitely, there are large segments in the Pakistan military which are very concerned with the fact that the Indians are becoming highly influential in the
areas. Okay, so we're coming towards the end. So before we get there, I want quickly, Lisa, you want to answer?
Yeah, partly I would blame the Obama administration's lack of commitment to Afghanistan in bringing Pakistan along. I think when Pakistan heard that deadline, we'll begin pulling troops out in July 2011, when they heard that also made them skeptical of the U.S. So the U.S. has failed to assert a strong vision for Afghanistan, and hopefully a new administration might do that. That's number one. Number two, I would just say that Afghanistan is a sovereign nation, okay? And just as Pakistani leaders would not want India to play some kind of deep role in determining the political dispensation in Pakistan, Afghans don't want Pakistan to be playing a deep role in determining their political future. And I think that's something that Pakistanis need to come to grips with.
Very quickly, Michael, last word. Ambassador says there's no incentive for Pakistan. Do you think the U.S. can provide an incentive?
Yes, I mean, he's absolutely right about this, by the way. By saying from day one that the U.S. was going to impose a military solution or seek a military solution to the conflict and basically defeat the Taliban militarily, it said to the Pakistanis, we have no interest in negotiating, no interest in protecting your interests in Afghanistan. There was no incentive given to Pakistan to want to work with the U.S. toward a political resolution. I think once the U.S. gets past this notion as a military solution, recognizes the Taliban has to be able to play a role in Afghan's long-term political future, then I think we might see some movement on the political process. But until that happens, I think continue to see the U.S. and Pakistan at loggerheads over Afghanistan.
Well, thank you so much. We have to end the program now. I want to thank my guests for joining us, Lisa Curtis, Michael Cohen, and Ambassador Tariq Fatmi from Pakistan. And thank you for watching Access Point. Please join us on our Facebook page and leave comments about this show.